We're going to start off with a bit of introductions, tell you a little more about Women's Week, about all the organizations involved. We will have a group photo after that. Then we will have our moderated panel by InHerShoes Bay Area, which will be run by Aleksandra. And then we will have the actual breakout rooms where we will essentially put everything you learned in the moderated panel into action, and you get to interact with all our speakers and learn more from them. And then we will close off with a couple of reflections. So just to give you a general outline of your event directors, I'm Aditi Nishith. I'm the president of MOBS, but this event has mainly been spearheaded by the two VP of operations, Nancy and Isla. They've been amazing at handling everything. So I just want to give them a quick virtual round of applause for managing everything and working on everything. And everything you see is all them. So I will hand it off to them for that. If you ever want to reach out to us about anything, you can reach out to us either by email or on LinkedIn, which is there on the screen. So to give you a general outline about Women's Week and why we're doing this idea was actually, it came to us in November or December last year, and we wanted to bring a bunch of women together, or people who identify as women, to essentially support each other and provide enough information. It's been kind of different for each one of us, I think, for all three of us. For me, it's been about getting all the resources that I think I didn't have, essentially, and I had to figure out on my own. And the idea was to basically create a network of people who could essentially support each other in providing that information. I know for Nancy, it was about being part of a university that essentially competes with other larger universities in the Bay Area, like Stanford and Berkeley, and trying to stand out in that. So the culmination of this idea was generally to bring everybody together, to network, to provide skills, opportunities to each other, to get to know each other better, and support each other in the future as well, hopefully. I wanted to start off with a quote by Coco Chanel, because I feel like it kind of talks about what we want from this week. A woman should be two things: who and what she wants. And I feel like if you are here today, whether you're a speaker or you're a participant, you're getting there. You're doing things basically so that you get to decide who you want to be, and you get to build yourself towards who you want to be. So props to everybody here. Congratulations for being here and for making that happen. To give you a general introduction about the two organizations that are kind of assisting us with this week, we have InHerShoes Bay Area. InHerShoes is a national nonprofit organization that focuses on making women 1% more courageous, and I love that mission of theirs. And we have POW, on the other hand, who are basically a fellow College of Business student organization at SFSU, and they're providing opportunity for women. So they focus on similarly providing opportunities for women and uplifting them in the process. You can follow them or keep track of them, stay connected with them through the links mentioned below, and we will be sending out the slides to you later as well for you to click on them if you need it. To give you a general outline about the week in general and the events that we're going to have, you're already here, so you know what Monday is. It's a networking event. But for Tuesday, we have an interesting panel on diversity and inclusion, which includes speakers like Tiffany Yu, Adanta Ahana Nonu, and Alicia Ko. And the basic idea is to understand and appreciate different kinds of people and understanding how you can be more inclusive in general. For Wednesday, we have an exciting workshop with POW where we talk about finding your passion. And our speakers will generally tell you more about how they found their areas of interest and very different industries, and basically how they found their calling. And I feel like if you're not sure about where you are right now or where you want to go, this would be ideal. The event on Tuesday will happen at 6 p.m. and the one on Wednesday will happen at 4 p.m. So if you're interested, please join us. We'd love to see you for them. The event on Thursday we have is on overcoming adversity in your career. And I feel like as women, supporters of women, and generally people who identify as women, we have faced a lot of adversity. and we have a different set of obstacles to overcome in the workplace and our professional careers. So to talk about this, to acknowledge it, appreciate it, and learn from each other and what we can do, the idea of that is the idea of this panel, essentially. That will happen on Thursday at 6 p.m. And then we will wind down this week the nice meditation, health and meditation, like mental health and meditation mixer, which will start off with a workshop hosted by Nana Mahtani, and it will be concluded by a guided meditation by Jennifer Dobbenmeyer. So both events will happen at 6 p.m. Again, we'd be really excited to see you there. So please go ahead and sign up if you're interested. Some general outlines for what we think will benefit you the most out of this experience is: one, be open to learning as much as you can. Join us for all our workshops, learn from our speakers, network with each other. Very important. This is the point of today's workshop as well. Please do network with each other, reach out to each other, and also reach out with our speakers and people who interest you and get to know more about their industries and what they've done, and find your own path that way. For reaching out to each other, we have an interesting idea for everybody to do, which is we'll be circulating a spreadsheet for you guys to sign up. If you're interested in getting to know each other better, go ahead and sign up there and reach out to each other and make those new connections. And the other point is post on social media and spread the word. We really appreciate you doing that as well, getting the word out. It helps us put on more events like these. So it'd be awesome if you could do that. And the most important, I think, is own your strength and courage. Don't let anything stop you from achieving everything you want from this event. Personally, I'm an introvert. I don't like talking, but I'm starting out this week by talking to all of you and getting to know everybody better and doing a public event with so many people. So own it, own your strength, and go forward and achieve whatever you want. Don't let anything hold you back. And that's my advice for this week. All right, we're going to do a quick group photo. So Ayla, will you take that?
Hey, I'm not on my Mac and I don't know how to do it on a PC.
All right, no worries.
Nancy, can you?
I'm going to stop share real quick just for us to do that. I can do it otherwise.
Awesome, I can do it. We're going to take two because we've got a pretty solid group right now, which is very exciting. So everyone needs to smile for both photos though. So on the count of 1, 2, 3, cheese. All right, and then one more. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Awesome, you all look wonderful.
All right, thank you, Nancy. All right, so we're going to start with part 1 of our workshop, which is a very interesting part. We're going to have InHerShoes Bay Area talk about networking in general, and we're going to have a moderated panel. It's going to be run by Aleksandra, who's the board member and event lead of InHerShoes Bay Area. And our panelists will be Laurel Calmos, Jacqueline Coop, and Serena Bui. So I'm going to hand it over to Aleksandra in 1 second. Just after that, we will have part 2, which will be the breakout rooms and networking. So please keep in mind the rooms that you're interested in. What we will do is essentially open up the breakout rooms for you to choose on your own. There will be 3 breakout rooms: the creative, the tech, and the business. So room 1 will be creative, and it will have Olivia Profit, Selena Oseguera, Laurel Comos. Room 2 will be tech. It will have Bidisa Mukherjee, Bridget Tharp, and Jacqueline Coop. And business, the room 3 will be the business room, which will be Emily Perdon, Aleksandra Bibik, and Serena Bui. So please keep in mind the rooms that you want to be in charge of. The rooms will be numbered accordingly. So room 1 will be creative, room 2 will be tech, and room 3 will be business. When we open it out, you will be able to select your own rooms. If you can't, me and my fellow colleague Nancy will be able to assign you and make sure you go into the room you want to be in. And you're free to move around in this time. You can move around in any room you want to get to know each other better, to get to know the speakers better and ask them your questions. There are no restrictions to the breakout rooms. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Aleksandra now to take over.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Aditi. Well, good evening, all. Happy International Women's Day. We are so happy and excited to be kicking off that amazing Women Week with our InHerShoes event. So again, Mobs, Pau, Aditi, Ayla, and Nancy, you did an amazing job putting it all together. So thank you so much. And of course, thank you attendees for joining us. So I just wanted to quickly start off by telling you like what InHerShoes movement is. So InHerShoes is a nonprofit organization committed to catalyzing courage in women 1% more at a time. So the foundation of everything we do at InHerShoes stems from the question, what would you do if you were 1% more courageous? And networking definitely needs a little bit of the courage. We all know it can be a little bit intimidating and scary. So we are so happy to talk to you about that today. And we just wanted to start with some quick introductions first. Like Aditi said, my name is Aleksandra. I will be your moderator for the panel. I am a board member and event planner at InHerShoes for the Bay Area chapter. And I'm also a hospitality and events professional working for a global hospitality chain. And I have just recently moved to the States, and actually the States are like my 5th country that I moved it into. So I'm super excited to be here. And now I would like to pass it on to our speakers just to introduce themselves. Laurel, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Laurel Comos. I am a senior experience consultant at Salesforce. So that probably means nothing to anyone here, but really it means that I consult using design thinking, human-centered design, research, UX, throwing out a bunch of words to see what might stick with everyone at Salesforce. So I am kind of tech and creative, but I sit a little on the creative side. I am also a member of InHerShoes board. I am the membership catalyst, and I actually live in Chicago now after being in San Francisco for a year. The pandemic was kind of forced me to leave, but I'm happy to be here with all of you virtually.
Perfect, thank you. Jack, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name's Jacqueline, but I work in tech, so no one has given me the proper 3 syllables in probably about a decade. So everyone calls me Jack. I live in I don't live in San Francisco. I used to. I live in Seattle. I work at the headquarters of Amazon as the software development manager for Alexa for kids. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just really excited to be here. I'm a little nervous because I'm also an introvert, which might surprise some of the women here. But yes, I'm trying to be myself 1% more courageous, and just really excited to meet everybody here about stories from you, and also kind of share how I got here, which is a pretty funny story. But yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Well, we cannot wait to hear it for sure. Serena, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Serena, and I am currently working at ServiceNow in a very unique role, currently in the HR rotational. I'm working as an associate product manager, but for future roles, I'll be doing HR operations, analytics, and then also project management. So just a little dibble dabble of everything in HR. Which is pretty exciting. I am also a mentorship catalyst at InHerShoes. I'm currently building out the new program for them. So that's very exciting and awesome opportunity to do. And a little fun fact, I graduated from San Francisco State University last spring, and I was the co-pres to Mobs and Pal, and I love seeing the family here. So yeah, super excited for this event, and thank you for having me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you all speakers. So we are super excited to hear all your networking stories, but I really wanted to start first with just defining networking. Laurel, I will ask you to start. What does networking mean to you?
I was taking notes earlier and I was like, oh, there's so many things. Where I kind of netted out was personal and professional curiosity. Being able to put yourself out there, but with like this curious lens, like you are giving a little bit of yourself, but a lot of it is also just wanting to hear about other people and what they do. And then it's also like desire making connections, you know, not just with you and that one person, but between maybe that person and that person or whatever it is. Like think of what a network really is. It's just interwoven connections. So that's kind of a couple layers of it, but it's this curiosity about other people. And then once you kind of start to learn more about those people, being able to make those connections among everyone. And I also just want to even mention, it doesn't have to be about jobs. I think we often think about it in that context, but you can network even without being in pursuit of a job. You can network for friends. I know that sounds kind of silly to say out loud, but you can do that. So even think about it beyond just work. So that's mine.
Yeah, perfect. No, that sounds awesome. I definitely agree that it's not just about job hunting. I mean, networking is going on everywhere, not only networking events as per se. For sure, absolutely. Jack, would you like to go next? What does networking mean to you?
I +1 to all of that. And it's really, for me, I answered meeting people who can positively influence you or your career. So really going outside of the job help. It's kind of funny how I got this speaker example today is that I rented out my subfloor to 2 amazing women. And one of them ended up being the Seattle chapter lead of InHerShoes. So I wasn't looking for anything, you know, other than like, are you clean? Like, will you be okay? And then she ended up being somebody awesome. Like we made a great connection. So it's really funny also where you can find somebody who can positively influence you in your career and to always just kind of be yourself and be aware and open to those opportunities. So yeah, definitely can even happen under your own roof.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you never know who you're really speaking to right now and how they will change your life, whether it's tomorrow, in 10 years, or in 50 years. It can always come back.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Serena, what about you?
I want to apologize in advance, but I'm starting to lag a little bit. So just putting that out there. But to answer your question, +1, 2 with everything that Jack and Laurel had said. So networking, I think at its core is basically an exchanging or sharing information or ideas. I am a huge learner. I took one of those Clifton Strengths things and learner was probably like number 1 or 2. So personally, I think networking itself is a huge skill that you need to build and then to keep it, because like I said, exchanging and sharing ideas and information is huge. And also you're giving information to people, whether it's to help them or they can help you. At the end of the day, you're connecting with them, and also it's super beneficial. And at the end of the day, you can really build a great and meaningful relationship from it, because you always need that.
No, of course, absolutely. And you were not lagging at all there, so don't worry, Serena. Perfect. I mean, you know, like I said at the beginning in introduction, networking sometimes can be really intimidating, and you know, it was already pretty hard before the pandemic, but now with COVID, it has become way different. I don't want to say more difficult because, you know, it depends on like where you are right now, but definitely different. Jack, do you want to start and tell us how do you network pre-pandemic and now, and what has changed and how did you overcome those changes?
Absolutely. Such a good question. Cause like, it's frankly a plane that I'm building as I'm flying through this COVID nightmare. But pre-pandemic, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Like I would just like show up in the elevator of Amazon and there'd be like, hey, would you like to attend this tech talk in this other building of Amazon? I'd be like, yeah, sounds like a great place to have lunch. Like it was so easy that you took advantage of it. So now that I'm not going into the office all the time, I'm not meeting these other teams, I'm not learning about, you know, future roadmap things. It's like, how do I find, I actually had a boss who called it this 2 jobs back. It's your cool kid campfire. It's a group of people that you know and trust and love that can help get anything answered or anything done within your company. And so how do you really establish that group of people that you can trust and depend on to like have your career in mind and also like the answers that you need to find? So one thing that I found is that I find people within my own job family within Amazon, and I reach out to them on different teams, but that's very unique to Amazon being a giant company. But frankly, like renting out my bottom apartment turned out to be an awesome networking opportunity. And post-pandemic, maybe it's just because I'm like so thirsty for physical attention. It's like, I'll go to the grocery store and the woman in front of me like, hey, like, what do? You know, or I'm at the park with my kids and I'm just like, oh, hey, you're really good with kids. Are you like a nanny or something? You know, so I'm shameless now. So it's really kind of an opportunity where I'm just trying to find, you know, people that I connect with that might have something to offer me. But yeah, it's kind of like one of those, you know, I don't want to call myself desperate, but yeah, I'll approach anybody for a network connection these days.
I do not believe you that you said you were an introvert. I mean, you cannot, doing all that, you cannot be an introvert.
I go home and afterwards and I recharge my battery alone.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jack. Serena, do you want to go next? How did you network before COVID and now?
Yeah, no, Jack, I need your skills on like just doing that out. But yeah, no, pre-pandemic, obviously way easier, right? Because you're always there in front of people, whether it's in school or at work, like you can just nudge them like, hey, do you want a coffee chat? Do you want to hang out? Versus now you're just and you're next to your computer or with your dog, whatever it is. So pre-pandemic, if I were on campus, definitely I would go to student organization meetings, kind of engage, have fun with either the students or the speakers that attend. Something similar to this, obviously, but now we're virtual. And so I guess even in class sometimes, right? Like you're always building your network. So whoever you share the common interests, you can definitely just always like, hey, I heard you talking about this, even though they were like across the room, just walk over and be like, I actually really like that. Tell me more. And then you just go off after class and just walk down the hall and continue the conversation. I guess same thing at work. It was very easy to just tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, I heard that you did this. I would really love to talk more about it. Versus now, I feel like I am a nonstop, I don't want to call it a slacker, right? Because slacker is like lazy, but slacker is in the tool, that like messaging tool. I will not stop slacking people just because that Zoom fatigue kills me. And I personally feel like just slacking is way easier. People can throw like emojis on there versus if you're just on Zoom, you'll be laughing, you'll be smiling, but I don't know, just talking so much on Zoom for like 5-6 hours a day, your face gets kind of tired, especially for an introvert. Like your muscle just like, I don't know, freezes up. But in terms of like now networking, I would say LinkedIn as a social networking for professionals, especially. I think that's like one of the easiest tools that you can use, especially for those like you want to just personalize that message and reach out to someone who's like in your current industry or a role that you might be interested in. Because at the end of the day, if you personalize that message and you ask or bring up something that they've recently posted, they would be more than happy to just be like, yeah, I'm down for that coffee chat. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, definitely 100% agreed. Laurel, what about you?
I was laughing the whole time Jack's rattling off her list of places that she talks to people because I realized my dog is my biggest networking catalyst right now. Because you like go take your dog to a dog park and it's like everyone around you has a dog and it's like, what's your dog's name? What kind of dog is that? Tell me more. So I very much so resonated with that. And also like weirdly found out how to get COVID shots from one of the dog parents. Like you'd be surprised like what you can get. But professionally, pre-pandemic, I think a lot of it does stay the same, I'll be honest. And some of the more digitally driven ones do stay the same. But pre-pandemic, I would go to events like this or events for like design all throughout whichever city I lived in, you know, whether it was San Francisco or Chicago. And the easiest way to meet someone is while you're both accidentally grabbing for the same cheese at like the inevitable, you know, cheese bar. Or while you're waiting for the talk to start, there's always that awkward moment of like everyone's in seats and you're next to someone like, you know, there's always that like, excuse me. Well, why don't you say like, excuse me, I'm so-and-so, like add a little bit to the end and then you can strike up that conversation. I am an extrovert, so I will acknowledge that that's probably a different experience for me versus others here, but take someone like Jack and Serena's introvert energy and like, they can do it, you can too. Now, I think all the suggestions that the other ladies said were amazing. My favorite trick at work and actually would also work at school is just find someone that you like and admire and think is cool, be it a friend or just someone you're like girl crushing on in class, whatever it is, and have them give you the names of 2 to 3 people to talk to. Hey, based on what you know about me, who should I talk to? And I've always found that in the professional setting, that's a lot of fun because you start to meet, people who have a job that's similar to yours, but in another part of the business. Or you might meet someone who has a totally different job, but you guys will overlap inevitably based on the cross-functional work that you do. And so through that, I usually try to make a point to have at least one coffee chat a week with a new person whose name I just got from somebody. And that's like actually networking at its finest, right? Like when it's not just unilateral, it's actually starting to build on each other. Someone in your network connected you to someone else, and that's how you make a complete web. So those are some of my tips, and they should transition to school just as much as the workplace.
Can I add one more thing that made
Of
me think of
course.
something? Sorry, Laurel. Also, it's really important to kind of like, this is like an Amazonian phrase, work backwards. Like, what are you looking for from this network person? Like, is it someone who I would like a sounding board for my job? LinkedIn's like an awesome place. I'm looking for other software development engineers. Or I'm actually looking for someone who's really good at work-life balance. That's not job family specific, So it's also, am I just looking to grow my network? Then it doesn't, like that doesn't matter either, like someone who you like what they're doing, but always kind of understand like, what are you looking to learn from this person? Because that will help guide the conversation and also help you learn the most from them, and also help them provide you with really pointed information and even share like, who's really good at work-life balance, yada, yada. So just wanted to add to that.
No, perfect. Thank you so much. And I mean, Laurel, I loved your comment about the dog parks. I never thought about it. And now I'm just going to look at my walks with the dog as networking events all the time. So thank you for that. No, that's awesome. Serena, I know you mentioned that you like to, that you think that LinkedIn and some Slack channels are very important for you for networking. Can you give us an example of one? And I know you said already LinkedIn, but maybe another Slack group that you find particularly useful for networking?
Slack groups. I'm a plant nerd. If you like didn't see the screen that I have behind me, I have like a bazillion plants behind me. So I network with crazy plant people just like me. But in other ways, I just Slack my coworkers or people who are that I think I want to connect with for coffee chats, then to keep that relationship going, because in HR you are pretty siloed within that department. So Slack is very helpful in that. I think in other platforms that I would use probably is new to me is Eventbrite. I didn't know that there would be so many cool events like this and then other like meditation ones, but some of them do offer that, what are they called? Like speed networking. Though I've been in a couple and they're pretty cool. Like you go into breakout rooms, you get comfortable with the platform, obviously Zoom, and then they give you like some dialogues and you just shoot yourself with them, find out more things. Obviously you would want to figure out like, okay, what kind of speed networking thing is this? Like, would it be fun for me? Sometimes they can get awkward because like you're in a place where everyone's new and you wouldn't even know what's going on, but do your homework, plan ahead, and then maybe you find out, oh, this is the event that I want to go to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely 100% agree. I think, it's so much easier to network if you join a group that you're really interested in. And the same, just like you said, for Eventbrite, you can attend any event and just like choose panel events just like this one. And then, 99% of the time, the panelists will want to share their LinkedIns. And so just connect with them. And that's how we start. But yeah, it all starts from that little personal connection from your interest. So I definitely agree there. Laurel, I have a question for you. So imagine that you're at a networking event, not that we're not at one right now, but let's say you are in a Zoom breakout room and you are about to meet a speaker who spoke at a panel that you attended. So what questions do you ask people you meet? Like, how do you even start a conversation? How would you start?
So I'm the attendee.
Yes.
Okay. Let's think. It depends. I mean, now I want to go back to exactly what Jack said, where it's like, well, what do you want to get out of this? Because I think I'm a researcher too as a background. And so everything that you ask should really come out of like, what is the goal you have in mind? So I really love that. So come in mind with like, what do you kind of want to talk about? What do you want to learn? Assuming that you want to learn a little bit more about their job and their career, I typically would start asking like, well, how did you get into this? And that starts to get you some intel of like, did you go to school for this? Chances are they probably didn't actually, which is kind of cool. It gives you some excitement and hope that, you don't have to take a very conventional path. So I always love that question. I love asking people like, what excites you about your job? What maybe do you wish would change? Sometimes it's good to know some of the ugly. I always like, if you were me, what advice would you give if you wanted to be, or if you want to be in those shoes? My biggest recommendation is never lead with asking for a job. When I've been on the other side before and people have just come into networking and been like, hi, how do I get a job at Salesforce? I know that that's probably your goal and that's why we're networking, but at the end of the day, it kind of just shuts the conversation off from being like fully open. And it kind of just takes it down one strict path rather than keeping it as like, we can make a connection as humans. I'm just going to put it bluntly. You want that person to love you, and then they will want you to work with them. And they'll just love you if you're you. So I think that's kind of one recommendation. Is there are some questions, but like never really lead with like, can you refer me to a job? How do I get a job at X? Like really just, you might not even want a job at X. So start just asking about what they do to even suss that out before you get into some of the tactics.
No, absolutely. I definitely agree. And like before the panel today, I spoke with a couple of people as well, and they always told me as well, like if you connect with someone on LinkedIn, don't straight up ask them like, can I pick your brain, and just like, how do you think I could get that job? Just, ask for advice, like politely, nicely go around, but definitely. So I definitely agree with that, Laurel. Jack, I have a question for you now. So we talked about how networking can be a little bit tricky. Are there times where you shouldn't connect with someone, and how do you stay away from those red flags?
That's a really good question. And I'm like a fan of toe in the water because first of all, I started out getting fired from MySpace as a sales coordinator. So like my sales game stinks, but I loved one of the advice from my managers, and it was, you can't sell what you don't pitch. 100% you can't. So you have to be in some terms fearless to be able to pitch what you want to sell, but you also have to be able to read a room. So this is when those like soft skills really come in very handy. And this is something that women are just innately better at than men. So I really encourage you to be fearless, but also aware. So so how do you stay from red flags? You just really, you are aware if the person like from straight up, they're just like, they're busy, they're looking down at their, their phone, they're not engaging, don't even waste your time. But if someone is engaging with you, take them to that point where they're not engaging anymore. Sometimes it can be really interesting how much you can get out of someone, just by reading their personality. I was at this networking event at Sonos, and I found myself next to the CEO, and I just started asking him really hard, kind of jerk questions. I'm like, so how are you going to deprecate that model? Like, aren't a million people on it? That seems really hard to do. Because secretly, I'm trying to figure out how to deprecate old versions of Alexa. And so he just thought that was pretty fun. He's like, we have no idea how to deprecate that model. And I was like, I didn't think that you did, so it's just use your soft skills and read the room, but don't be afraid to take a seat at the table. Cause that's a connection that I have for life now. He even knows my middle name is Legally Danger, like we're friends. So I encourage you to try, but then also be respectful.
I love that. Perfect. I know we're going a little bit over time, but I have two questions I want to ask all the speakers. So Aditi, Nancy, and Ayla, please stop me if we're going a little bit too much, but I do want to hear your network success stories. Serena, would you want to start and tell us about Is there anyone that you've met who has opened doors for you, or did you get someone to open doors for you? So yeah, I mean, if you can tell us about a networking success story that you have.
Yeah, I think a really great story is probably the one on how I landed in her shoes. It was, how long have we been in the pandemic? It was pre-pandemic, I think in like January of last year. I met someone the summer prior, and we had connected on LinkedIn. I loved the knowledge that he was sharing, specifically about just wanting to help people get a job at very, I don't know, prestigious companies like Google, Salesforce, Microsoft. And his pitch was that he wanted underdogs, people who come from, I guess, schools who aren't like Stanford, all of that. And I was like, wow, he would be a great speaker for providing opportunity for women. So nagged him, we stayed connected. We eventually became friends. And then in January of last year, just one day out of the blue, he asked if I wanted to meet a boss woman by the name of Judith Martinez. And I'm like, oh, who is this? So I quickly do a Google, and I find out that she's the founder of InHerShoes. And I'm like, oh, geez, okay, sure. Why not? I was super nervous, to be honest. Like I was having so much anxiety. I didn't even know if I could show up to the phone call. But I stuck to my guns, and it was the first time where I really like put myself out there into actually networking and like meeting new people. So I did my homework. I found out that her passions basically aligned with mine, like in providing opportunities for women. Like you want to help people, you want to help specifically minorities to be more courageous, to actually come out and like do the things that you want to do, because you do have that, it's almost like a glass ceiling in a way. And her drive and her grit basically pulled me in. And I was like, gosh darn it. All right, this is happening. I'm going to do it. So I jump on the call with her, and we went over an hour on the call. And I honestly had learned so much, not just about her, but like why she did what she wanted to do. And then, so I was formally invited to join the Bay Area chapter that Badisa was reviving, because it was, I guess it kind of died back then, but yeah, here I am today. And I saw myself lag a little bit. So sorry if some of my stories like broke, but yeah, the opportunity came to me, and it was something that I really had to go for.
No, you did not lag at all. We heard everything, so it's perfect. And I mean, for those who are listening, Google Judith Martinez. She is amazing, and she actually, and I cannot remember the award because I only saw it today, but she won an award that will be given to her by Serena Williams. So that is pretty awesome too. Oh yes, Stuart Weitzman. Awesome. Thank you, Laura. Jack, do you want to go next and tell us about your networking success story?
Sure. Well, as I alluded to earlier, I got fired from MySpace. So I was like, okay, I can't be in sales. Like this isn't going to work. What am I going to do? So I started getting into tech, and I really liked project management. But on top of technical project management, I also was like, I want to work in video. I love TV. I'm a giant TV nerd. How do I work in video? So I was trying to make the rent, and I was working at a software startup down in San Diego called Telium. And what they do is they like manage tags on websites, so you can like, and it doesn't matter. They're technical, and they ended up selling this tech to a lot of big major brands. And so I was their first ever deployment manager. And so it was my job, once the deal was sold, to actually work with these companies and integrate the software. And so they sold to CBS, The Good Wife, Survivor, The Amazing Race. I was so excited. I was like, I want to be on this. Like, this is mine. I got dibs. And so it turned out CBS had this giant firewall. And so like they had to create this like name for me. And I was in their internal system. I had like a whole chat bot, and I could talk to anybody at CBS. boy, did I abuse that. I was like, who's this? Are you the CTO? Hi, Jason. Are you guys hiring? And I was just like, because I'm doing this great stuff here. I mean, I literally like infiltrated inside CBS. I made everybody think that I was hilarious. The head dev, I was like, you're going to give me a high five by the end of this project. He never did, but he still was inclined to hire me over. So I had a moment where I had a bad thing happen in my career, but it was kind of the best thing that ever happened to me because I didn't belong in sales. I didn't belong at MySpace doing social networking. And so it brought me to this company that led me into CBS. And after getting my job at CBS, I got recruited at Hulu and now I'm at Amazon. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's also really crazy where your career can take you, and also what you learn about yourself through it. And just to like plus one with what everybody's been saying, it's like, be yourself. Like, you are awesome. Like, don't be afraid to be yourself, yourself in all circumstances, and people will dig it. And then you'll want to work there and it'll work out well for you. And if they don't dig it, you probably don't want to work there. So that was mine. Just like shamelessly G-chatting the CTO of CBS. Yeah.
Thanks, Jack. I mean, I have a big smile on my face. You make me laugh so hard. I just cannot, and I can see by everyone else that it's the same. So no, that's an awesome story. Thank you so much for that. Laurel, do you want to go next and tell us about your networking success story?
Can you promise that I don't follow Jack for our last questions? Okay, awesome.
Sorry.
I'm like, my story is going to be way lame compared to Jack's story. Well, it's not lame because it's actually why I'm here. I actually networked with Nancy last year. I don't know, Nancy, when was it? I think it was like May.
It was literally like a year ago, like when
Okay.
COVID hit. So
Yes, it was like peak
about this
pandemic.
day.
Do you remember what the event was? I just remember it was Salesforce was doing networking.
Yeah, it was like a Salesforce like workforce week with Workday and Okta. And it was my first networking event ever. And I met you, and I'm sure you can go on about this if you remember, but
No, I
you're
do.
the reason why this event has been put on, because you definitely catalyzed networking for me. Like, you were just amazing, made me feel so welcome. So yeah, and you taught me how to network. I'm a little speechless right now because it's funny looking back on how much you've influenced me, and I had a 20-minute conversation with you, you know?
Well, you influenced me too. I am here. And what I love is this is a great example of like networking can work. I'm really touched that I was able to make that kind of impact, but then watch how this ended up. Like, we met for 30 minutes. We chatted about what Nancy wanted. Nancy was awesome. I was like, I remember being like, this girl's great. She's going to go places. And then it was super cool when we got on that call a couple weeks ago to plan this. And it just all kind of came together. It was like, oh my gosh, you were the one that kind of said, let's have Laurel come. So it was great. This is a door that then was open for me because I was working with Nancy on potentially doors that could open for her at Salesforce. So I think it's just a good example of like reciprocity and how if you keep those relationships, even if just Nancy and I were friends on LinkedIn, we didn't really talk in the last year, but it was a connection where then when something came up, she had me in mind. And I know that the same thing will happen when the right thing comes up for her too. So there's my little networking success story that feels very real to this moment.
Oh, that is really cute, actually. I love that story. Perfect. Well, we're going to wrap up the panel. So I just wanted to ask all the speakers, if you were to leave our attendees with the most important networking tip or tips, what would they be? Jack, if you want to go first.
Don't be afraid to be yourself. You are awesome. You bring something to the table that absolutely no one else does. So defend your point of view, be proud of your point of view. And honestly, like, you are creating your network as much as your network is building around you. Don't force something that doesn't feel like it should fit, because just listen to those soft skills. So that's really like the best thing that I've ever learned is just like, I'm weird, I'm going to own it, and I'm going to take it places. So you should do that too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That is a really good tip. What about you, Serena?
Definitely +1 to that. Also, I think like you would come into these things obviously very nervous. So take a deep breath, maybe 10, and then bring your most authentic self, because be you. I mean, you don't want to have all this facade, like, oh, titles, oh, all these things, but definitely just come in with your questions, with your conversations that you have in mind. We are always here to talk and hang out.
I love that. Take a deep breath, maybe 10. That was definitely me before that event today. For sure. Laurel, do you want to go next?
I have like an entire list, so I'll try to sum some of them up quickly. I know Serena had kind of mentioned this earlier, but that mutual interest piece is so important. Like, find the silliest things. That's the one cool part about Zoom is like you actually, I mean, we have backgrounds on right now, but you typically can see what's in someone's house. So, oh, you have a dog. Let's talk about dogs. Oh, you've got a map on your wall. Interesting. Where have you been? Oh, I really like that rug. Like, where did you get it? I don't know. Come up with something stupid that you see in their environment. Otherwise, like, same school. For many of you, that's SFSU. Like, find people that also went to SFSU. Find people that have similar hobbies. I became really good friends with this new girl on my team because she also likes to knit and I like to knit, and we just became buddies. And those things really help make you memorable, make you more of a person. Tactically, my favorite secret is you can figure out anyone's email. It's easy. Go on LinkedIn, find someone you're girl crushing on, and then don't send them an email. Like, you can, that totally works, but like you can figure out their email. It's probably some combination of first initial, last name, first name dot last name, first name, last name. Like, what I used to do is literally do BCC for every variation of their email that I could think of, and it would get to them. It's really cheesy, but it worked, and I got a lot of responses. And then finally, if you are an organized person, make a spreadsheet. I just got done buying used cars and I had a whole spreadsheet, and I think my boyfriend almost freaked out because it was like color coded and everything else, but there's no reason why you can't do that for networking too, right? You can put companies, names of people you want to talk to, what their role is. Did you reach out to them? Yes, no. I mean, you can kind of figure it out. LinkedIn post, whatever it is that kind of makes a lot of sense. And then the coolest part is you can keep referring back to that. So like 6 months from now, when you're like, oh, I'm really interested in X, Y, and Z, or hey, I found this article and I think there was that woman I talked to once, or I went to this talk where this girl from Salesforce was talking about UX design, and I found a cool article about UX design. Maybe I'll go back and send it to her. And all of a sudden you like have a place to reference and keep building that relationship. And no one will know that you cheated and had it housed somewhere in the digital ether. So that was just like me spewing a bunch of them. But those are some of my favorite tips.
I love that email tip. I have never thought of that. And now that's
It's creepy, but it works.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. No, but you're very right. That's what it is. So thank you. I love that. Well, thank you so much, all speakers. I mean, those were some really amazing tips. So thank you, speakers again. Thank you, attendees, for joining us. And of course, Mobs and POW for organizing. And we hope that you really can take our tips and, apply them in your real life. Just remember, like, networking doesn't come overnight on one event. It definitely does take some practice. So keep on practicing, and you will definitely have that opportunity in our breakout rooms today. Also, just putting it out there, InHerShoes is an amazing movement. So if you're interested in joining us, please do look us up on Instagram. We do have a couple of really cool events coming up as well this month. And yes, I mean, join us in the breakout rooms to listen to the speakers and also to some other InHerShoes members who are here with us today, and get some more awesome networking tips. And so I'll pass it on to Aditi, Ayla, and Nancy now to break us into the breakout rooms. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Aleksandra, and thank you, speakers. It
Thank you,
was amazing.
speakers.
All right, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms soon. Just a few tips. You can always, so participants, you can always ask for my help by the small ask for help button below on your screen in case you need me. I have renamed the rooms so you can see which one is which now, which should make things a lot easier. And please go ahead and pick whatever room you would like to start out in. All right, so gonna open up the rooms. And there we go. In case you don't see the option, hang around and we will put you into your respective rooms.
If you put your Zoom on full screen and look at the bottom at breakout rooms, that'll take you to it, but otherwise we can definitely help you as well.
Seeing it. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to start putting people in breakout rooms. I don't see it either.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Let me make sure we have all our speakers in.
Are you on full screen when you look for the breakout rooms? I just want to check.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start placing you in the rooms once Aditi finishes putting the speakers in their rooms. So
All
if
right,
you
I
don't
think
have,
we're good to go.
so if you don't have the option to select your own breakout room, Aditi is going to place you in one, and whenever you want to switch to another breakout room, just hop back into main room, and we'll place you in the next one that you want to join.
All right, Aiko, which room would you like to go to?
I'd like
Okay,
to go
either
to
you can call out what room you would prefer, or you can drop it in the text and we can like help you out.
the creative room.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Brianna, I don't see which room you would like to join.
Brianna said creative.
I put creative.
Awesome. And Jackie.
Jackie said business.
Awesome. Thank you.
So breakout rooms aren't showing for you at all, Andrea?
No, I've went to full screen, half screen.
That's so weird. So Next to reactions, there's no breakout room.
No, there's
Dang.
nothing until leave. Yeah. No idea. Maybe it's like an update or lack of one.
Maybe there's just too many people.
It
don't know, it
worked
works
when we
in
did
class.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's
thought-
okay.
yeah.
Everybody's in the room, so it worked out.
Yeah. Can you text Adira to make sure she records?
Yeah.
Thanks. And then I guess we'll just place Andrea in whatever room to flow. And
Has
then,
the least people.
yeah. And then whenever you want to hop into another room, just hop back into main room.
For sure.
Okay. Looks like tech needs some more people. Which is honestly a fun one because Jack is hilarious.
I know, right?
Nobody's used all 3 syllables in 10 years.
You guys,
Hi, you're back.
my class got canceled.
Oh,
I was like, why is
hell
no one here?
yeah.
I was like, I know I'm not tripping.
Wow, the timing is crazy. Do you want to go into a breakout room then?
Yes, I want to go into the business one.
Business, is breakout room showing for you at the bottom, or should we place
No.
you?
Yeah.
It's not.
Please. There you go.
Place you.
Thank you.
And it doesn't show up for you, Nancy?
Breakout room shows up for me to join, but not like to control them.
Oh no. But you could like the last time we did it, right?
Yeah,
What
the
is it?
last time was totally fine. I don't know what's going on.
Oh,
I
well,
wonder if maybe there's too many co-hosts this time, because last time we had like 2 co-hosts.
Yeah, maybe.
Wait, no, we had the same number. We just
Yeah.
had Natalia and Andrea are the additional ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Could you send, you know how you can send a message to all the breakout rooms?
Uh-huh.
Could you send a message to them reminding them that, you know, it's still, we're still going to follow the format of like, I mean, in your own words, like we're still following the format of like doing all 3 breakout rooms so that we can network with different industries. So whenever you want to switch to a different industry,
Mhm.
just hop back into main room and we'll place you. Thank you.
Sure.
And then we'll place Andrea and Tech after this. There's a really good turnout in all the rooms once you see the room breakdown though.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm like pretty pleased, honestly. Went
Yeah.
pretty well.
Also the panel was really good.
I know, right? Yeah.
Did the message go through?
Typing it out.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
This filter really, or not filter, background really gives a meaning to, new meaning to flat hair for me. My goodness.
Hey, look,
Could be
you
an-
look good.
Oh, thank you. I just think it's hilarious. Can I steal this background and throw the dream logo in there for my folks tomorrow?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I made one, but it's not nearly as pretty. I love this. God, I love Canva.
I know, right? Yeah. Lifesaver.
Should I drop into the rooms and check on things or? I like that. All right, let's drop Andrea into the tech one.
Okay. Sure. All right. See you, Andrea.
Thanks, Andrea. Bye. Good intro, Dee.
Thank you. I was so nervous.
I'm not that I could tell. I was saying all of us are nervous. Like I was shaking while you were talking, but you did
Yeah.
really well, and you always explain yourself really well and get your point across really well. So
Thank you.
you're the perfect.
I'm
person
glad
to
you
kick things
think
off.
so. Yeah.
No, you're the perfect person to kick things off. Yeah.
Oh, do you want to pause the recording?